Hey, what's going on, guys? We're going to give it a few minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started. What's going on, Rich Boy? Good to see you here. Amurin, good to see you here. Going to give it a few minutes for everyone to get in here and then we'll go ahead and get started. Let me know how you guys can hear me. GM solo. Awesome. Appreciate it. Loud and clear. Perfect, guys. Yeah, we had a nice little bounce in the market today. A lot of good stuff happening. I know we had some big liquidations earlier. Big flush in the market. Luckily, our Ethereum long is still doing good. Curious to see if any of you guys have got into that one. Fire emojis in the chat if any of you guys have gotten into the Ethereum long call that we had just a few days ago. Also, we got 15 viewers, 0 likes. If you guys could like the video, that'd be awesome. Help get this stream over to the masses. We'll start in about 30 seconds here. Let a little more people get in. Awesome, Rody. Good to see you got in that Ethereum long call. Again, still doing good. Rich Boy got into it as well. Awesome, awesome. So far, sitting around 25% profit. So great to see on that. Let's see if we can hit that TP1 very, very soon. You got Render long. What's going on, Maximilian? Good to see you here. What's going on, AB? A lot of good people in here. A lot of regulars. Love to see it. Perfect, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get started right now, and then we'll backfill everyone as they join. Again, if you haven't liked the stream, please like it. That would help spread it to the masses. But looking at the past 24 hours of data. So 24-hour liquidations, 344 million, longs 225 million, shorts 118 million. Obviously, a lot of longs got liquidated on this recent down move that we had earlier in the morning, and now things are starting to balance out with a recent bounce. Now, an important thing to watch is the liquidity heat map. So everyone knows I like to watch this to determine where liquidity is at in the market. Well, right now, actually, it's interesting because in the 24-hour, we had a lot of liquidity near 90.2K. We smashed that and actually kept going higher. And really, there's not much liquidity to the downside, which means there's not really many people taking longs right now, which is interesting because market makers make money whenever they tag liquidity and whenever they liquidate people, right? And so these yellow clusters are where I like to look for because usually price gravitates towards that. But right now, what we have is a little liquidity near 91.8K. Very, very well could see us smash through that because we do have some near 89, 90K, but again, it's very little. And so I do think even when you look at the 1 week, we do have a lot of liquidity near 94K. So look at all of this liquidity to the upside here. So there's not too many people longing right now, surprisingly. I mean, it tells you that obviously this is the weekend, so low liquidity. We got, people got wrecked to the downside. Now it's going to the upside. But I do think that there is a strong possibility that 94K is going to get tagged. I do think so. I just feel it because so many people have been wrecked. So many. But if you just look here, nice little double bottom pattern forming, right? Just get that low near 88 again and then bounce to the upside. So it does make sense. Going to be watching this closely, but we are going to go over more analysis in a minute. Now, what's going on, Gen Z? Good to see you here. Power and Praise said FOMC prediction. I think there's going to be a rate cut. I mean, 93% chance right now, but I think we're going to bottom on December 10th. I think wherever we're at, it's going to be the bottom, and then we're going to spike up from there. And I know Benjamin Cohen thinks the same thing, and I do agree with him because if you think about it, people are going to be home for the holidays, just like with COVID. They're going to have nothing better to do in the trade. They're going to be getting gifts. So I do think we'll have that liquidity injection towards the end of the year like we usually have. But I'll go over that in a minute of where I think of where everything else is going from there. Now, let's talk about some news items because there's been a lot of news items of things that have happened over the past few days and really past few weeks. And so if you guys also, if you haven't followed me on X, I do have my account at the CryptoData on X. If you guys haven't followed me, I post a lot of good quotes there. I post a lot of analysis as well. So make sure you guys are following me there. I'll link it in the description if you guys haven't seen it. But there's also some other good accounts I'll talk about that are good to follow as well. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, check my pin message, my quotes that I post, my analysis. I post a lot of good stuff, guys. So keep that in mind. Now, as far as news items, so some big things that happened over the past week was Vanguard. They officially listed BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF with trading that is already live. Now, why is Vanguard so big? Well, look at that. It's an $11 trillion asset manager, the biggest one next to BlackRock. So guys, Vanguard getting into the space tells you all you need to know about where big money is going, right? Where the whales are heading. And so that's exactly where we're going from here. Now, also on that date, we had the Federal Reserve ending quantitative tightening. So they telegraphed this, they told us they were going to do this, and now it's happening, okay? And so that's why it's very important to pay attention to these things, because what happened on December 1st, we had a nice little pump in the market. What else happened? Well, you said SEC Chair Paul Atkins says innovation exemption for crypto firms is coming in January. So let me tell you guys what I think. I think that Q1 is going to be very bullish for crypto. I think that December, it's chopping people up. The past few months have chopped people up. I think that December, we'll still have some green. Right now we are up on the year, surprisingly. But I do think December could turn out to close green. And then January, February, March really kick it off then for Q1. Because there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. So also we have CZ, Binance founder, saying he predicts many more all-time highs coming soon. He posted that December 2nd. Literally the next day we pumped. And CZ has a lot of connections, guys. He knows a lot of people in the government. He knows a lot of people in exchanges, founders, a lot of the whales, right? And so there's a high likelihood that he knows something's coming down the pipeline over the next month. And so does that mean Bitcoin's going to reach 130K by the end of this month? I don't think so, but I do think that's a good possibility that Q1 is going to be amazing for the market. And so that just further solidifies that thesis. Now we also have BlackRock CEO Larry Fink saying tokenization today is roughly where the internet was in 1996. Why is this big? Well, the dot-com bubble, for those who remember, was in 99 to 2000. All right, you had companies being overvalued. You had website domain names being sold left and right. I mean, it was popular. The internet was coming out. And so if he says tokenization is right where that was in 96, that means we're just on the cusp of really getting this bubble going. And that would mean technically that, all full steam ahead up until 2028 to 2030. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in the market, guys. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. There's going to be a lot of good stuff. Now let's see. Amrin says, as always, I start by saying 33,000 is closer than you guys think. Amrin is going for those low targets. And again, you always got to be ready for those low targets for 33,000. I would say in a bear market, it's definitely possible. Let's see, ABS says prediction for December. I would say around 96 to 97K for I would feel comfortable saying 105 to 108K. I feel comfortable saying that. 105 to 108K for December. If we can get that. Realistically, though, probably 97. See, Amrin says 93K and then the market's done. Going to be very interesting to see that, Amrin. Curious on your analysis with that. Post your analysis in the chat. Be curious to see what technicals you're looking at for that. Maximilian says, but usually after FOMC is a dump for some days. Usually, yeah, because it's priced in, right? But it's already priced in right now. If you look at the market, guys, FOMC is 93% right now. It's priced in that a rate cut's going to happen, period. And so when it happens, is there going to be some type of reaction? Maybe. There may be a short-term drop, but that drop, in my opinion, is going to be the bottom. ABS says, can we look at Bitcoin and USDT dominance later? Yes, if you could remind me, AB, in about 15 minutes, I'll look at it again. James, what's going on? Good to see you here. Do you think the S&P will go bullish Sunday market open because of Netflix buying Warner Bros? Netflix buying Warner Brothers is another thing that's crazy, is because a lot of their shows are questionable to say the least. So them buying Warner Bros, there's going to be more legal stuff going on for that. I know that Paramount's trying to buy it. They're trying to frame it as a hostile takeover. And so that's a whole another topic in itself. But no, I think the S&P, depending, it's probably going to pump. It's probably going to go green on Monday just for the fact that we do have rate cuts coming up. I think it'll most likely be green there. But let's go over some other news items. So we also have Bank of America December 2nd officially recommending clients to put up to 4% of their portfolio into Bitcoin and crypto. Guys, why do you think Bank of America recommended this just now? Do you think they just had a revelation that crypto is the next big thing? Or do you think they've been accumulating when BlackRock was around $44,000 and finally feel confident in telling their clients to buy when it's double the price? What do you think it is? I think it's a combination of that, plus they have their own stable coins they're creating. And so now it's in their best interest to recommend their clients to invest 4%. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just telling you guys the reason behind it. There's always an angle, guys. There's always chess being played. It's always game theory at work. That's the reason. All right. President Trump calls for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates next week. And so this is nothing new. Trump has always been one for cutting rates. And then also, Trump says there will be no income tax at some point in the not too distant future. That's another big thing, right? And so if you have no income tax, think about that. People are going to have more discretionary income. They're going to invest in more risk on assets. And so that's something you have to watch out for as well. And so, again, further solidifying a pump in the market. Now, some of the comments, we said Sony killed MJ just saying. Interesting thesis there, Maximilian. Cognito Mike says, what do you think about GRT, the graph? No real strong opinion on that one. What's going on? Lord Wavy Bone says, accumulating. When is the Trump stimulus coming? AB plays. The Trump stimulus is coming mid-May, or I should say mid-2026, the $2,000 stimulus he was talking about. So that's going to be another COVID-like stimulus. Hey, what's going on, Wealth Management? Good to see you here. So, all right, guys, next news items we have is Secretary Bessent saying he doesn't believe tariffs are a tax. Now, this is interesting because they're saying also that they're going to use tariffs as a way to cut income tax, right? So the revenue from tariffs they're going to use to create no income tax. And so tariffs, on one hand, they're helping by making money. But on the other hand, they're hurting the average consumer, right? It's just, do the benefits outweigh the negatives, right? The pros outweigh the cons. That's the big thing that people are weighing right now. And I don't have an answer, but I think that you definitely should consider both sides. Now, also we have crypto prediction platform Polymarket officially beginning rolling out the US app. Guys, Polymarket's been getting big. Prediction platforms have been getting big. That narrative has been getting big. And so it's only a matter of time before you're going to see it continue to permeate through the digital landscape. And we've already seen MetaMask actually integrate Polymarket as well. Now, here's the thing, guys, is yes, you can make a lot of money on Polymarket, but at the end of the day, it's still gambling. It's still insider trading. So it's still bet against you. But if you can get access to that information, you can make a lot of money. And so I always tell people, don't hate the player, hate the game. Because yes, Congress, if they're banned from trading stocks, they're just going to go to Polymarket. Because again, it's an insider game. It's not regulated. And that's where all these people are trading. So what can you do with that? Well, you can follow some of the smart wallets on Polymarket who are profitable. You can try to find that information yourself, right? And so, you know, at the end of the day, it's still risky, but not to say that you still can't make a lot of money off of it. So, but just treat this as meme coins, guys. Treat gambling as meme coins, what it is, and just be cognizant of that and manage your risk accordingly. We also have BlackRock saying the U.S. national debt will accelerate crypto adoption. Very interesting thesis there. And then we had Charles Schwab, $12 trillion bank, saying it will offer Bitcoin and Ethereum trading in early 2026, guys. The trading platform Charles Schwab, if they're integrating Bitcoin and Ethereum for their trading, more argument for a bullish Q1. AB Play says, do you think the cycle will be done before Trump stimulus comes in? That's the million-dollar question, right? And that's where a lot of people are debating if, and I'll talk about this in the charts as well. We cross below the 50 weekly moving average. If we stay below it for much longer, then the bear market is nearly confirmed. And so that's something that we have to watch out for. Then you also have Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong saying major banks are piloting crypto with the exchange. So again, more adoption is coming. And then you have Russia's second largest bank, VTB, to launch Bitcoin and crypto trading in 2026. So more adoption there. Now, also, something I want to mention, guys, is Mr. Beast is launching his financial services platform. Can someone tell me exactly the details of this financial services platform? I don't think it's crypto related. Is it his own bank? Is he making, you know, what is the background of this? This is very interesting. I'm sure it's going to be successful. It's very interesting, though. You also had Treasury Secretary Bessent saying 2026 is going to be a great year for the U.S. economy. That's why I don't think technically that we are in a full-on bear market, because Trump's going to pump the market ahead of midterms. And so if you know that, and a lot of rate cuts are coming down the line, supposedly the new Fed chair is coming in May 2026. You have Trump's stimulus mid-2026. You have banks, institutions getting involved in Q1 of next year. You have CZ saying there's going to be more all-time highs. You have more adoption happening. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff happening. Now, I'm not saying that we're not in a bear market now, but with quantitative easing still yet to happen and all of those catalysts on the horizon, it's hard to see that we've already topped out. Not saying we haven't, but I'm just saying it's interesting. It's very interesting. This is what I was talking about here. MetaMask integrated Polymarket into its mobile app. And then you also have CFTC approving its first U.S. regulated spot crypto trading on the CFTC registered exchanges. And White House Economic Advisor Hassett says the Federal Reserve will likely cut rates next week. Yep, which we knew that based on Polymarket. And then we have France's third largest bank, BPCE, to allow customers to buy and sell Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and USDC. Again, more adoption by these big countries. And then we had Treasury Secretary Bessent saying the U.S. will finish the year with 3% GDP growth. Love to see that. So, perfect, guys. You can see a lot of positive news on the horizon. Now, what else do we have? Motivation for Success says, what do you think about ACC? No opinion of ACC. I'm not actually sure what that is. Cheyenne says, do you think Bitcoin is going to become a one world currency in Revelations? Interesting tie-in there. I know there's been a lot of religious connotations or religious, what's the right word, prophecies coming to fruition. I know it's been a big thing happening recently. So who knows, right? It could be Cheyenne. It could be. It's very, very interesting to say the least. Hey, what's going on, Marco? So it's actually John Luke, but either way, or just call me Data. That's fine too. And yes, Jinzi, I will go over the Solana chart analysis. Let's see, I'll go over that. No hints of QE yet, question mark. So the Fed has actually injected a little bit. I know that, let's see, let me go ahead and, I know they injected, what was it, 12, or is it 90 billion so far? Let me see real quick. There was some place where I saw a $90 billion number. Let me see, I think it's 90B Fed, or Treasury maybe was the word. Yeah, I'll have to see, but I do think that there were some repurchase agreements. So I think in the tune of 90 billion, maybe more. But yeah, the Fed has been doing a lot. And so I do think that there is still a lot to be said about that. But with that said, let's go over a few other things. So the chart for the S&P. Right now it's doing good, 68.70. Now what I'm thinking here is potentially the RSI is getting close to crossing above its signal line. We could potentially form another bearish divergence if S&P makes higher highs and then reverses to the upside after the open, right, for Tuesday. And so this is a possibility here. So it may not be here, maybe like right here for the bearish divergence. But the last time the bearish divergence played out, we dropped from 68.80 all the way down to really 65.30. So that's what I'm watching very closely there. But this is something that if we do come back down to support, 6640 is the big level, and then 6400. Now, where's gold? So gold rejected off its signal line there to the downside. So that's something I'm watching as well. This could signal that investors are getting more risk on because gold is a hedge against inflation, a hedge against uncertainty. So if they're selling gold, it means maybe they're more confident in the market, less uncertainty, and they're feeling more confident in the S&P and crypto. Something to watch out for. And then we have oil futures, nothing crazy there, and then DXY. So the DXY is doing good, or I should say bad, which is good for us, but it's very close. It rejected off its $100.20 resistance that we were talking about. Now it's around 98.87. So what am I expecting here? Well, it's getting closer to its signal line here on the RSI, so maybe a little bit further downside, causing the S&P to pump, and then rejection off the S&P, bounce off the DXY, and then finally rejection below. A nice little mid to end December pump for Bitcoin and other risk on assets. That's what I'm expecting here. But it needs to hold 98.82. Otherwise, when it falls, Bitcoin's going to rise like crazy because it is inversely correlated to Bitcoin and crypto. Let's see. All right, let's go ahead and look at the overall market. So Bitcoin's at 91.3K, up 2%. Ethereum's at 3128, up 3.2%. Solana's at 135, up 2.3%. The top gainers, Mantle, 5%, Sui, Zcash, Cardano, Athena. Pudgy Penguins is trending, and you have a few other tokens. So again, small little bounce today, right? Small little bounce. I think it's within the realm of volatility, standard volatility we have on the weekends. Longs getting liquidated, shorts getting liquidated. So nothing too crazy, but I do like to see Bitcoin above 90K. That is the big thing there. Now, where's the Fear and Greed Index? It's at 22, okay? Something I want to tell people as well is look how long we were in extreme fear for. I mean, basically 2.5 weeks. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that obviously there's a lot of fear in the market, but if we are in a bear market, then we can stay in those fear levels for extended periods of time. But nonetheless, there is still technically some good risk reward in buying near these lows if market structure is changing, meaning if we're making higher lows, which we'll talk about in a minute, if the indicators are being oversold, curving to the upside, and if there's a lot of positive catalyst on the horizon. That's what I like to look for. I like to look for confluence. And so that's what I do see here. Potentially we could see some confluence, a little more upside. It's at 22. If we actually look at the chart, you can see when we're in these extreme fear areas, we kind of bounce a little bit, relief bounce, dead cat bounce, rejected, and then higher after that. Could we see the same thing here, or could we just see us sending afterwards? Something I'm going to watch very, very closely. Like I said, in a bear market, we could stay in these areas for a long time. So I'm not saying we will, but I am saying that we should have some type of relief in the near future. Motivation for success with the 5 messages in a row. That is a lot of messages there. 1 second, I will answer your question. Just give me a second here. Okay, looking at the Bitcoin ETF flows. So December 5th, 54 million positive inflows, but Ethereum actually had negative 75 million of inflows. So that's the biggest thing to watch here is Ethereum was showing negative. And remember, Ethereum had its Fusaka upgrade December 3rd. And so that was a lot of hype around Ethereum. Had a nice pump, 140 million of inflows. But afterwards, there were some issues with that upgrade. And so now we're seeing a little bit of bearishness, right? And I know you guys can't, there you go. Now you guys can see it. A little bit of bearishness. And so that's something to keep in mind. Now, have they fixed any of the issues? I don't think they're going to fix them right away. But I do still think we're going to have a similar pump like we had post-Pectra upgrade. So Ethereum had its Pectra upgrade May of this year. And we pumped 55% over the next month and a half. Is that going to happen this time around? I think it's possible. If that happens, Ethereum's going over $4,000, which is crazy to think about right now. But like I said, it could be high likelihood if that happens. Marco, ETF flows are exchange traded funds. It's basically meaning when these institutions are buying Bitcoin for their clients or Ethereum or whatever ETF is on the horizon. So it just tells you what institutional interest is at. That's all. So Solana, you can see we do have a lot of ETF flows. A lot of inflows for Solana as well. A few days of outflows, but a lot of inflows nonetheless. Now let's go ahead to some of the questions, and then we will go to the charts. And I'll go ahead and pull up the chart right now so you guys can see what I'm looking at. All right, so let's go ahead and look at a few things here. Marco says Sol's making a double bottom on a very fair resistance. Yeah, so we'll check that out as well. Motivation for success is what coins to buy with $30. With $30, I mean, one that I'm pretty confident in actually is Umbra, UMBRA. I think it has a good opportunity to go much higher. So I'll look at that token. I think it's at 40 to 50 mil market cap right now. I think it could definitely 4 to 5x. But yeah, if you only have $30, I mean, you may just be better off doing some leverage trading, some low leverage trading with that and slowly building that up. Or, you know, because meme coins are very volatile right now. Yes, there's a lot of opportunity, but I'm trying to think what's the best bang for your buck at this point. See, Bayo Edit says, happy Sunday. Does Powell give outlook for 2026 on Wednesday? Goldman Sachs predicts 2 rate cuts for 2026. Hey, happy Sunday, Bayo Edits. Yes, he will. So he is going to be giving an outlook for 2026. And so that's why everyone's going to be watching the FOMC meeting, a big, important meeting there. Hamoud says, CD, how much of your portfolio is in cash / crypto? So really it's about 70% crypto right now, 30% cash. So still relatively in crypto, but I am, waiting with cash on the sidelines just in case, but I am still dabbling a little bit more into crypto at the moment. Bayo Edit says, is the next CPI the 18th according to the BLS website? I thought it was Wednesday. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let's double check actually. Let's double check. Let's see when it is. The BLS confirmed there won't be an October U.S. inflation CPI release, while the November CPI will be delayed till December 18th. Interesting. That means the Fed will vote on December 10th without fresh inflation numbers. Very, very interesting there. So yeah, I guess it was initially, may have been on the 10th, but now not anymore. Very interesting on that. So yeah, maybe it is on the 18th. I will change that in the report. Thank you for letting me know that. All right. Let's see. Appreciate that, Bayo Edits. Turtlehead said, you still think 150K Bitcoin is possible? I think it's possible, but just considering the recent events, I think it may not be as likely. I think 130K Bitcoin is more likely, but it just depends, what catalysts we're seeing. But I do think that we do have a lot of catalysts, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think 130K to 150K is still possible, especially as QE starts, more rate cuts happen, more stimulus from Trump, no income tax. I mean, there's a lot of catalysts we still have that could send us to that level. AB plays, will the dollar continue to decline in 2026? I think it's possible. I think it's possible. I think there's going to be a big drop in 2026 in the market, probably mid to end of 2026. But yeah, I do think that the dollar is probably going to continue to lose value like it has since the 70s. And then, yeah, motivation for success, Umbra was the coin, UMBRA. Shane says, do you think gold is a good investment? I think so. Long term, I think silver is a good investment. I think even uranium, platinum. For stocks, I think Tesla is a good investment. They have a lot coming down the pipeline. And yeah, that's what I think so far. Hey, no problem, Bayo Edits. Appreciate you. Anytime, Turtlehead. Thank you, thank you. All right, guys, let's go over some of the charts real quick. So Bitcoin, here's what I'm looking at. So for Bitcoin, it's at 91.2K. Now, the biggest thing I want to show you guys is higher lows, okay? Market structure. So whenever you have a chart and you have it being in a downtrend like it is, the big thing you want to look for to decide if you're going to have further upside is higher lows, okay? That's the first thing with anything is higher lows. Now, if you wonder what this or why my candles are different colors, it's a custom indicator I have. Purple means the bottom is closed, green X's mark bottom signals, and then red and orange mark top signals with red X's. So, but nonetheless, when you make higher lows, that is tentatively a good sign. Now, the question becomes, is this just another bear flag? All right. So if we create a parallel channel here, I mean, this very well could be a bear flag. Like very, very well could be a bear flag. And at that point, right, we could just keep going down like we did more or less over here, right? We had a little bear flag, boom, down, right? Like that could happen, okay? So we could just be an extended downtrend here. You have to be able to look at both sides, and 78K would be a nice little bottom, okay? So that's very, very possible. Very, very possible. And so we gotta be able to look at both sides, guys. But it's either A, we're making higher lows and we continue to break above this, which would be very bullish. It's going to be a lot of resistance, though, at 94K and then 96 to 97K. Or we're in a bear flag and we reach up to 94.6K and then reject much, much lower to 78K. Okay. That's a possibility too. So I'm going to be monitoring both sides to see where we're at here. Now, as far as the indicators are concerned, the RSI is nicely curving to the upside, bouncing off a signal line. The stock RSI, so you guys can see it, is, we had a little bearish divergence. At least it's resetting below 80. So now we're just waiting to see, potentially that could send us much higher afterwards. And so that's what I'm looking at for the indicators. Now let me actually move this up a little bit. Yeah, you guys won't be able to see everything, but at least you'll be able to see a lot right there. Okay. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Now, as far as support for Bitcoin, let me actually pull up the Binance chart. I just want to have a little bit more better levels on. But as far as support, what I want to see is if for the daily close and the weekly close today, I like to see those both close above 89.2K. If those close above 89.2K, then we're continuing to make higher lows. If they don't, the next major support I'm going to be looking for is around 86.7K, because it also matches with this trend line. If we zoom out, I know there's a lot of stuff going on here. But if we zoom out and see this trend line here where we bounced multiple times over here, and then we bounced here, and we bounced here, and we bounced here, right? And so this trend line is very significant. And so that's why I'm looking at around 86.7K to hold if we do get below here. So that's the big level to watch. And like I said, the RSI is still doing good. Now below that, if we fall below, then 78K is going to be the next big level. So keep an eye on that. Now as far as Ethereum, so Ethereum's at 31.38. Okay, we got to 31.48 on the chart, just below our TP1. Now feel free to take some profit now if you haven't, but you see the RSI curving to the upside. Stock RSI looks like it wants to curve back to the upside here. So looks like things potentially, you could say Ethereum's making a double bottom in a sense, still valid, making higher lows, right? If we draw the line here, let me go ahead and, so higher low, technically you could say this is a higher low as well. So Ethereum on the daily, I'd love to see it close above $3,020 on the daily and weekly. That'd be nice for a higher low, because the bearish divergence played out so far, and now we're looking potentially to go up to 3270, where it's gonna be big resistance, followed by 3500 to 3600, major resistance around this level. So that's what I'll be watching, guys. Now support wise, I still hold firm that 2930 to 3060 is very good support. So that's something to watch out for. And then 2820 around this level, good support. And then 2680 is where we actually had major trend line. So you can see bounced, stayed above, bounced, and also it coincides with the 200 weekly EMA. So 2680 is a great level, guys. If you guys aren't paying attention to that. Also, the stock RSI on the weekly is oversold, curving to the upside. So a lot of momentum is building. A lot of momentum is building on Ethereum. That Fusaka upgrade happened. Now we're going to see the after effects of it. They fixed the scaling issues. And so I think Ethereum is still relatively good. Again, as long as it can stay above that 3,000 level. And then for Solana here, starting to make higher lows. Again, it wasn't like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Took some time, but the RSI is bouncing off the signal line. Stock RSI looks like it wants to start curving to the upside after this bearish divergence played out to the downside. 130 is holding like a champ. If it does fall below 130, 125 is the next major level, followed by 117, where it bounced at March. And then below that, 103 to 100, big level psychological as well. Major support April of this year. And so that's what I'm looking for Solana right now. I'm looking for potentially a bounce to the upside here, get to that 145 resistance where it rejected from last time. If it can close above that, 155, and then 167 afterwards. Now, for support, already mentioned that. The RSI is doing good. The stock RSI, so you guys can see it here. See, it's curving to the upside here. So that's probably what I'm expecting here. The bearish divergence did play out. But yeah, that's my analysis for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Now, let's go ahead and check a few others. So Turtlehead says, what's the lowest you see Bitcoin long term? The lowest I can see it myself. Let's go ahead and bring up some charts. The lowest I can see it, honestly, is, I'll say around 60K is the lowest I can see it. Now, if we pull up the volume profile here, 1 second. It shows you where most of the volume is, around 67K. 67K is where most of that volume is concentrated, okay? So I could see between 62 to 67K as being the bottom here. That'd be a good buy level for Bitcoin. Now I know a lot of people have orders at 78K because that's where we bounced on March. I know a lot of people are looking at 70K because that's where we also rejected from in October of last year. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for right now currently. That'd be the lowest, 62 to 67K. Now I just got a text message real quick, so just give me a second, guys. Okay. Also, we got 37 viewers in here, only 23 likes. If you guys could like the stream, that'd be awesome. All right. No problem. Motivation for success. Okay. AB Play says, can we take a look at BTC and USDT dominance? Yeah, so let's go ahead and check out Bitcoin dominance real quick. So this is still playing out as we predicted. I've had this line drawn for a couple weeks now. Stock RSI is still curving to the downside. RSI looks like it wants to curve to the downside, so it looks good so far. If Bitcoin dominance can lose 59%, that'll be very bullish for us. This line here that I had is the 100. The 100 EMA, and then the yellow line here is the, well, it's also the 100. This is the 100 SMA actually. So let me remove that real quick. Okay. Yeah, so it rejected out the 50 weekly EMA. Now it's right now near the 100 weekly EMA. So I do think it's possible that we continue lower to 59% at the very least. And then USDT dominance. All right, so for USDT dominance, now I actually had this on another chart. Let me see if it's on the total 3 chart. 1 sec. And actually total 3 doesn't look too bad either. RSI bouncing off the signal line here on the daily actually looks pretty good. Total 3 is also making higher lows. So interesting. Very interesting, guys. Let's go and look at USDT, see if USDT dominance here. Okay. Yeah, so here's the chart I had. So if we go to the weekly, you can see here that USDT dominance is rejecting very, very nicely. Bounced off of that 5.9% as expected. Now, potentially we could see a bearish divergence start to form. The stock RSI is overbought. So you can see down here is overbought on the weekly for USDT dominance, which is good for us. It means that we could see further downside here, especially if we can break below 5.9%. So yeah, USDT dominance is looking good. Let's see if we can break 5.9%, close below it on the weekly. I don't think we'll close below this weekly candle, but maybe next. Keep an eye on that. Resistance-wise, 6.4%, and then 7%. Motivation for success says, bro, I have 100 USD in Binance. Do you think it's better to buy different crypto or just put them all in one? Honestly, I mean, with 100 USD, 120, probably just best to put it all in one. But yeah, I mean, just put it in a high conviction play. Bayo Edit says, I'm watching if we close above 4-hour EMA. Plus, I like the 4-hour cross, but would like the 1-hour candle to close red so the R side can get it reset. There you go. Yeah, Bayo Edits. For the stock RSI, yeah, I did want it to reset a little bit. So I did want it to reset. And so, yeah, that was my biggest thing there, is making sure the stock RSI reset for Bitcoin. I think it could go a little lower probably, but yeah, it was what I was looking for, at least for it to reset below the 80 level. Bayo Edit says, Sol one day, almost the exact balance on the RSI yesterday. There you go. Turtle says, do you prefer Solana or ETH long term? Probably Ethereum. Danu says, can you look at KTA? Yeah, let's go look at KTA real quick. Ooh, KTA looks rough. So this is what I'm looking for, KTA. I mean, 23.5 cents, not too bad to buy here, actually. And so let me actually go to a chart that has more history so I can get a little bit more accurate. MEXC probably has more history. Okay, so yeah, about the same here. So KTA is actually fairly close to a bottom. Right? I mean, this is the main analysis here of it. So yeah, if you can get near 23.5 cents and then close below on the daily of 23.5, you could get out. Stock RSI, almost oversold on the daily. Not quite. RSI is kind of middle. I mean, for a bottom play, it's not horrible, right? If you want to buy it here, 23.5 to 25 cents, not horrible, but just keep in mind, I mean, there's still a lot of volatility. So, and you can place your stop loss a daily close below 23 cents. I'd probably just do that. Make it easy. Hamoud says most of what volume? Let me see. Hamoud, go ahead and expand on what you mean by that. What's going on, Sporacos? Good to see you here as always. Mudali says, what do you think? Is it up or down from here? Great question, great question. And I'm going to say more chop. More chop. It's not going to be as easy as full up V recovery from here, but I think more chop, but higher eventually. So probably a little bit of a dip here. And then I think we'll have maybe one more little impulse move higher before potentially dipping on the FOMC day, bottoming out, and then higher from there. So chop up, or so dip, chop, up, dip, and then up. Cool, guys. Awesome. Well, that was all the analysis I had for today. It's almost an hour now. The biggest thing, guys, is just be careful as far as the upcoming events and what's going on for the future. Remember that we do have those numbers coming out shortly for the interest rate cut for the FOMC meeting, December 10th. And then thank you, Bayo Edits, I believe, for the new CPI date. I'll change that December 18th. And then we have other numbers coming out as well, non-farm payrolls, PPI data, etc. So a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. Like I said, we still have a lot of catalysts coming up. So the big thing is quantitative easing. When the Fed starts that, that's really going to be when it's full risk on. So keep an eye for that. And then also, as far as Q4 and the holidays, I do think we're going to see a nice little Santa rally. And so December 10th, probably going to be the bottom if you can get any good dips near major weekly support while your indicators are oversold in Confluence as well. That's going to be the best bet there. But hopefully this video helped y'all out. If you have any questions, further questions, then you can DM me on X. Remember, follow me on X at the CryptoData. I'll go ahead and paste my account again if you guys haven't seen it. And I just make sure to provide you guys the best content I can. Check my pinned message, check my recent messages. I post a lot of good content here, guys. Also, if you haven't joined the Gym Hunters group, free links in the description. The paid Gym Hunters group in the description as well. And then BloFin and Photon links are in the description too. So thank you guys so much for watching. Love you guys. Hope you have a great weekend and great rest of the week. Talk soon.